So a recap of the first, 30 hours
30
we've been here.
hours?
So let's see, we got in yesterday at probably 3:50, 4 o'clock, our flight landed. And then we kind of cheated the line. You look Belizean, so we got away with it. That saved us a lot of time.
The gal at the desk was unhappy though.
No, she was not happy. She was not thrilled about anything.
No.
So that was really awkward. Then we got our rental car. That took another 15, 20 minutes maybe. And then we just kind of got on the road and started heading north. And that was fun.
That was fun.
Jordan made it clear he was not comfortable with ever driving that.
No.
It was dark. We definitely ran out of daylight and the road sucks. So it was like, oh, let's try and step on the gas and go 60 miles an hour, but then watch out because there's potholes that are like 2 feet deep, and then
deep, and then speed bumps that are 2 feet
that
high,
are 2 feet high,
and sometimes right back to back. So
Yeah.
that's a difference of 4 feet.
But like, just in that 2-hour drive you got, which is only 63 miles, we determined. Anyway,
Yeah.
got here, did the whole thing with, reunited with Grandma and Grandpa. And then I think we just kind of took it easy. We were out here chatting on the balcony with Grandpa for like
Chatted with
an
Grandpa
hour and a
for a
half
while.
last night.
Minimum.
Maybe 2 or 2.5 hours. And then we were here for Lunar New Year. So we saw fireworks kind of in the distance, which was entertaining. And then it was also Saturday night. So apparently there's a nightlife in Curacao now, which is news to me. And then we just went to bed. And then today, good Lord. We're not even to today yet. Today, we got up at a decent hour.
Birds were loud this morning.
The birds were loud this morning. It was a bit alarming.
Yeah. Which they kind of sound like.
But we had gone to bed at like 10, so we got plenty of sleep.
Yeah.
Jordan was doing some bird watching this morning. How many new species did you find today?
Today, 6 new species.
6 new species. And that means you've never seen it before.
Never seen those.
There you go.
Pleasant morning.
Pleasant morning. Real pleasant morning. And then we went down and determined we were going somewhere for breakfast.
We ran into a guy and he said, "Hey, I know you, Pops, from when you were a kid."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Hey, you want a good breakfast place? You go over to
Oh, that's
Tony's.
right. Go over to Tony's.
And if you don't go to Tony's, go to Blue, which is right next to it."
Yep.
So we went to Blue.
Went to Blue, and that was a really nice restaurant, but it was
Yep.
like abandoned.
Yep, nobody there.
That was weird. And we also just pulled up on some random restaurant where I think we're the only people here.
No one else here, but it's beautiful.
Staff is clearly not here.
On the way, however, was one of my favorite things.
Oh,
Come
on.
We saw people bathing their horses in the sea.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen before, and that was very exciting.
And then Jordan made the joke, that's where I bathe my horse too. And then Grandma thought he actually had a horse. So that was fun. Then we actually found a restaurant called Tony's. And it was good. It was very Americanized.
Beautiful.
Get some good pictures. They came out to the table with I swear, what everybody got maybe 12 fried jack. Everybody got their own basket. And at first I thought, oh, they're just gonna bring the one basket and maybe just fill it up if it needed it.
Like 8 fried jacks.
But
Yeah.
we got a bunch of them for every single person. So it just looked like this abundance of food. And sure enough, not everybody ate all of them, but I definitely plowed through all of mine.
I did
So
mine too.
that was good stuff. After that, we came back home. There was 2 or 3 hours before the funeral started. So we went into town. We just kind of walked around. I mean, it was Sunday, so the market was closed. Most everything was closed. But, we still got to walk into a little mini mart and get some waters to drink while we were walking around. Screwing around. We got our little water bladders, and we're just suckling on those as we were walking. Fast forward, we come back home. We actually took a cat nap. I also just had an amazing little snooze. I had one out here in the hammock because we walked around town, saw a bunch of
Turns out that
new parts of Kurzall.
naps in Belize are...
Yeah, they're... And now we're finally headed to this funeral that we have fantasized about several times today in debate of, is it going to be open casket? Will we be pallbearers? Are we going to have to bury this person at the end of this thing? Are we going to follow a truck in somber music? I don't know. But whatever's going to happen, we're going to all have a new story to tell. So, here we go. I knew in my head, like, okay, funeral starts at 2 o'clock. You know, we got there at like 1:50. First of all, we parked right in front of the church, like on the grass. So I was thinking to myself, seems wildly inappropriate. But Grandpa and Grandma were insistent that that was acceptable. So I didn't say a word. I just got out of the car. This is going to be an experience. Just pulled up to the church, to which we parked right here. Because naturally, you just park on the front grass at a funeral here. And here we are.
There you go. Yeah. That's the party right there.
About half an hour early. Don't know how much I'll be able to film this. Walk into this church, and it's just about what you'd expect. I mean, just like some pews on each side, 19 fans going at level 90. And it's definitely hotter than Haiti in there, but there's like a ridiculous amount of wind because there's so many fans going. So it was okay actually. I was comfortable. Honestly, the most uncomfortable part was just sitting on the wood for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we at one point determined there was a body present for this funeral. So thankfully it was not an open casket. It was more of like a casket with an optional viewing at the end.
A window casket.
A window casket, is that what you call that?
That's what I would call it.
Oh, okay.
It was a
A
casket
window
with a window
casket.
in it.
So, but it was a good service. The whole thing was in Spanish. So
We were also, it was fun because we were in the front of, like, we were 3 rows back.
Nobody
We were
sat
the
in
first
front of
people
us.
to be, so I always try and at least be engaging with the speaker, but I was not getting everything he was saying, so I was trying to nod along and give support, but difficult.
Yeah. And so since we were front row, I could tell every time he looked at me, at least he was calling my bluff. Like, dude, you don't know what I'm saying. So luckily, I know Jesus. I know Amen, which doesn't really translate. I know Padre. So I could really cue in, which was the most important. I could cue in when we were praying, so I at least knew to bow my head and be respectful. And then also, I knew stand up, which did happen several times. And then Grandma's like fixing to leave as soon as it's over. She's like howling from the car, like, let's go. And then to our, I guess not really our surprise, but to our expectation of leaving, we then started a processional through town following a makeshift hearse.
So the hearse started driving away with the back open, which I found very concerning. But apparently that was good to go.
And then
processional consisted of
yeah, I do have some shots
the
of that.
hearse, 20
or so people
walking behind it,
yeah,
and then a row of I don't know how many cars, but it was interesting going through the processional with Belizean traffic also.
right, because I
thing.
said, well, we were talking about key differences between how this would go in America and how this would go in Belize, and I made the comment, well, you'd probably have to tell the city or whatever jurisdiction you're in that you're doing this, and to which Grandpa immediately interjected and said, oh, well, he did, he had to do that, that was important. And I'm thinking, there's absolutely no traffic help, there's no guide, there's there's no way that whoever received that information did anything with it. Nothing. It was a regular traffic day, and people are honking like they want you to stop and let them through at certain streets. It was a whole thing. So then we get to the graveside service, to which we are basically parked on somebody's front lawn. And then we go over to where she was entombed in like a... Is it called a tomb?
I would call it a tomb.
Okay, a tomb.
Above ground.
Above ground grave.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a cement pad on the soil, but then there's like basically a cement box around it. So they had everything but one side closed and sealed and done. And then following another sermon first.
I'll be honest with you.
Please.
You got one Spanish sermon for Jordan, and then the second one, I was
Yeah,
distracted
no,
the whole
I was
time.
watching ants and birds, and there were fire ants all over the place. This
Yeah.
lady almost fell back in her chair because the ground was so uneven, and we're in
Forgot
these
about that.
plastic barbecue
And
chairs.
about the rebar.
Yeah,
And
the
then-
rebar. Man.
Oh
what a
my
day.
goodness. Yeah, so then it's finally time to put her in and close the tomb. And immediately this whole masonry crew jumps into action, and they're just killing it. There's some dudes that are doing mason work that you can tell they've just had experience with this for their entire lives.
Yeah.
But this one dude who might have been the rookie of the group.
It was also the pinnacle of emotion.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's like, oh, I'm saying
Sealing
goodbye
her
to
for
my
the
mother,
last
my
time.
aunt, my
Yeah.
grandmother, this, and this dude walks off of a different platform to set down a thing of cement and just eats it hard. And at first I thought he had slammed his face into her tomb,
Yeah.
but I think he just slammed his arm into her tomb. But either way, he played it off, but you could tell he had a responsibility.
Yeah.
And he legitimately just had to stand and sit that one out, because I'm sure in the inside he was just screaming. That had to have hurt so badly.
It hurt.
So then, yeah, the next 25 minutes was just watching them seal this tomb all the way. And then that was kind of the end of that. So after we sang a few more songs, and we kind of just packed our things and left, and then driving from the funeral to this restaurant. And it turns out the lady that prepared the food was the Sunday school teacher from the Nazarene Church back in 2003. This gal taught us different songs of the books of the Bible and the Old Testament and all this stuff. And she's the gal that sang the song about Bartholomew or something.
How does it go?
Something and Bartholomew. That's all I remember.
Sister Amy.
Sister Amy. Of course, she's Sister Amy. Reconnected with her. Does she really remember who I am? Probably not. But I slightly remember her, and back then I was like 2.5, 3 feet tall, and now I'm 6'2". So standing next to her now was pretty entertaining. And it was just, I would have thought that person was not around, honestly. I had no idea she was that young back in the day. So anyways, then we went to, like, the gal we had a funeral for, her house.
We went to someone's house.
We went to somebody's house, but it was a party, a gathering hosted by her son and daughter. And her son, David, and his wife are from Atlanta with their 2 girls. And we got to learn all about their life for probably 2 hours. So that was very good. And then we had stewed chicken and everything. And it was good. So all that to say, long day.
Eventful day.
Eventful day. I cannot believe we've had this much activity in 30 hours, or this many stories to tell in 30 hours. I didn't even talk at all about flying here or Wendy or anything like that. So
Some things are just left.
some things are just better left unsaid.
Day one.
Day one
held a lot
was
of surprises.
wow.
So who knows what day 2 has.
So yeah. Any last thoughts on your first 30 hours?
I have said it before and I'll say it again. If you'd given me $1 million to guess what my first day in Belize would have consisted of, never would have come up with this.
Okay. That's we're gonna stick with that. I like that answer. Dad, any thoughts before we sign off here?
What about my uncle? You met my uncle.
Oh,
He came in, he looked
my
like
word.
a gangster.
Yeah, he's like a cross between Sal Valentinetti's uncle that goes with him on
Exactly.
America's Got Talent. Uncle, he's got a name. He's got a handle. He's like a TikToker now. It's a mix between that guy and Aunt Marge from Harry Potter when he blows her up and she
Jabba the
floats
Hutt.
away. Yeah, it's just like
Jabba the Hutt.
you're looking at him. Yeah, more to come.
We need to properly nourish so we can mourn.